Public safety and criminal justice have been top of mind in recent years in Travis County, where some critics repeatedly suggest the local district attorney is not prosecuting enough crime. Accusations echoed by local, state, and national police groups, some Texas leaders, and even some KXAN viewers.
So what's the reality? To find out, KXAN investigator Avery Travis and our team have been digging through criminal case data.
And they discovered an increase in the amount of felony cases not prosecuted, but the numbers and the answers we got from the DA give us a lot more insight into what's going on.
Javon, he was funny.
From his first steps to football games, Keisha Hodges remembers everything.
He would always tell people my mom's my best friend, like all the time. He'll call me, best friend, what are you doing?
But in a park where she used to bring her son to play,
God, I didn't want to cry.
Now she remembers the night she lost him, too. On a summer night in 2021, Javon Hodges was at a birthday party in South Austin, where Austin police say a disturbance broke out. The 19-year-old was shot and killed. Days later, another 19-year-old was arrested for Hodges' murder after several witnesses identified him as the shooter. But in September 2022, with no indictment more than a year later, Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza's office rejected the case for prosecution.
You know, my son's been gone for almost 2 years, and I cry every single day because I miss him. I mean, it's not right that this happened, and you know, still there's still no justice for him.
We'll get to why later. Data we obtained and analyzed from 2021 and 22, the first 2 years of Garza's term, show his office declined to prosecute 50% of all cases it closed within a year of receiving those cases. Compare that to 2018 and 19, a 2-year period before Garza became DA, when 27% of cases closed were dropped within a year of receiving them.
If we cannot prove a case, we are not going to hold on to it. We have an ethical obligation to dismiss it or reject it.
Garza says every felony arrest now goes through an early case review, when his prosecutors not only look for evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, the burden of proof for a conviction, but also make sure there's evidence of probable cause, the burden of proof to charge someone in the first place. If those points aren't there, they say they'll reject a case before it's indicted. In Garza's first 2 years on the job, rejections made up 56% of all felonies dropped. The rest were dismissed later in the legal process.
As the case moves past that point, our office begins to receive more evidence. We begin to receive body-worn camera. We begin to receive offense reports. We begin to receive witness statements.
If a case is rejected before that evidentiary process is given a chance to play out, particularly in these more complex violent crimes, is that case getting a fair look?
Right. Yeah, so, and again, every case is different. The level of investigation and the quality of the investigation differs widely by case.
How can the victim's family or the public be sure that it's getting a fair screen?
Well, I think what I would say is that the prosecutors who work in the Travis County District Attorney's Office, and there are about 100 of them, are, from my perspective, some of the finest prosecutors in the state of Texas. They make decisions based on the facts, the evidence, and their professional experience and the rules of ethics that bind our profession. There is no bias in the work that they do.
Prosecutors in United States criminal law and criminal procedure have enormous discretion.
University of Texas law professor and criminal justice expert Jennifer Lauren says there's no consensus among legal scholars on early case review or when to drop charges.
It is costly to have someone be detained pre-trial. It's costly to assign counsel to properly defend that case while it's ongoing. It's costly for the district attorney's office to resource that case with investigators and lawyers.
a challenge Garza says got worse after an uptick in gun violence in 2021.
We're seeing those numbers starting to decline, but our office is still dealing with many of those cases, and they are a real strain on our resources.
Since then, data shows his office dismissed or rejected around 3,600 violent, sexual, or weapons-related offenses. 28% of all charges dropped.
How can you assure the public that you all are focusing on those types of crimes?
These cases are our highest priority, and I think that is reflected in the number of convictions that we are securing and the percentage of cases that come through our door that are resulting in convictions.
Garza provided KXAN additional data during our interview, showing his conviction rate for violent, sexual, and weapons-related crimes was up compared to years past. He also pointed to the data showing charges are most often dismissed because that person was already convicted in another case by that point. But when a serious felony case, like a murder, is rejected or dismissed, he says there's often strong evidence of something like self-defense, a decision which might be classified as in the interest of justice. Garza says that was the case in Javon Hodges' death.
This doesn't make any sense to me. I said, this is my son. This is my son. Y'all not understanding this. If this was your child, you would not want to hear a lack of evidence.
Now, Avery, you mentioned an increase in dismissals and rejections compared to 2018 and 2019, but that was all under the previous district attorney, Margaret Moore, right?
Yes, and it appears in the data from that time frame, her administration only rejected about 4 cases until 2020 when the pandemic began. But we talked to her and past leadership from her office. They actually defined what a rejection was differently. So it's tough to compare when or how early her administration was declining to prosecute. We also know Texas Criminal Code requires all prosecutors in the state to report rejected cases to the Department of Public Safety. But it's unclear how other DAs define the word rejection and what they report. For example, numbers from Harris County, one of the largest in the state, show just 3 rejected cases over the last 2 years.
And we know that you're working to get a better understanding of what all this data means and how it can be used for better perspective. So Avery, thank you so much.
Well, you can explore the data from Travis County in this story online right now. We also have a link there to a separate story about today's announcement from the DA on his office's family violence conviction rates. Just scan the QR code right there on your screen and head to the investigative section of KXAN.com.